Here was the Seattle Times article, and this is what I really hated to see, that they would blame delinquency on milk, because all of us know it's far more complex than that. But you know, the media is a form of entertainment. And then you've never been anybody until you make the National Enquirer. I made the National Enquirer. So, you know, leading researchers, amazing finding. Heavy milk drinking may cause juvenile delinquency. And by the way, when Tom Ramirez called me, he never told me he was going to give that to the National Enquirer. So the story started to come out. Here's this guy talking about pink rooms, right? Talking about too much milk, talking about too much sugar. It was a bad combination in terms of creating credibility. But I want to let you know that I wasn't so much interested in the publicity at all. I just wanted to do the work in the field. And one of the things I really enjoyed at the time when I was probation chief was going over to McNeil Island Federal Penitentiary, which is in Washington State. It's an island surrounded by water. You can only get there by ferry. A lot of hardcore federal felons go there. And I started to work with the lifers. There's a group called SIG there. These are people who will spend the rest of their life in prison, and they're a real menace, and they're a danger to the prison community because they have nothing to lose in terms of what they do. What are you going to do? Put them in solitaire for another 30 days, so what? Well, anyway, I started teaching them about nutrition and diet and how it affects behavior. And eventually these inmates started petitioning the United States Bureau of Prisons to change the diet and allow them to have dietary supplements. And I want you to see the response from the federal government. This is you know, why even today you can see why I'm still frustrated, because this is still the position of the prison system in this country, probably in Canada as well. And what they're saying is the food that we serve you is just fine. You don't need extra vitamins and minerals. Just eat your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You'll get all the nutrients that you need. This was their conclusion. And they said, if you don't like that, you know, go ahead and appeal our decision, and good luck. And then actually the Dairy Association, the Sugar Association, all these people influenced the Bureau of Prisons to develop sort of a consensus standing position paper that would say that inmates don't need dietary supplements, they don't need dietary modification, there's no research support for this at all, it's all a lot of nonsense, and that still is the position of the federal government in terms of this. Well, eventually I finally wrote my first work on all of this. This was orthomolecular treatment of criminal offenders, and this I want to thank Dr. Michael Lesser, because without him urging me to write this, I guess I would have never put a lot of these initial experiences and studies into a monograph, and I want to thank him, and I thank him the rest of my life for doing that. He then knew Dr. Pauling, had asked Dr. Pauling to take a look at the book, and Dr. Pauling put his signature on the book and that wonderful quote about orthomolecular medicine on the cover, which, again, I thank Dr. Lesser for doing that. There was also studies done by others, and I want to make sure we give credit to a lot of people. There was Barbara Reed, of course, who I've mentioned, who has been a tremendous contribution. Had great conviction about the importance of nutrition in criminal offenders. Leonard Hipchen, who committed suicide. Unfortunately, and by the way, he was a suicidologist at a university in Virginia, and he was under tremendous pressure by the quackbusters. They really went after him hardcore, along with another professor who also espoused the view that nutrition could affect behavior at Western Michigan University, who also, I think Leonard was 51 years old when he committed suicide, and the other professor was 50 years old. And both of them had called me just the day before they committed suicide to tell me why. They were so despondent, so depressed, because they could no longer take the pressure of all their critics attacking them, the faculty that was coming after them, the university administration, the assaults. It was just too much. And they ended their lives. And I curse those damn people, those quackbusters, for the damage they have caused so many wonderful people that I've met throughout my life whose passion and interests were to help others. But unfortunately, we're also attacking tremendous economic interests, and for that reason they were under attack, not because what they said was not true. Certainly should also mention Sharaskin and Ringsdorf. I had the pleasure of actually touring in 1983 in Australia with Dr. Sharaskin. We did quite a wonderful lecture series together. Abram Hoffer has been an incredible inspiration to me and to many others in the orthomolecular field in nutritional medicine. And Michael Lesser, whose work back in the 1970s and 80s in the orthomolecular meetings was a great inspiration to learning more and needing to know more about nutrition and behavior. Richard Koonin in San Francisco, a wonderful psychiatrist who always had that enormous energy and spirit to help us. There were so many people, and my apologies for anyone who I have forgotten. So then in 1978, and I'm going to start to end this, we began to offer a course called Body Chemistry and Offender Behavior. I gave over 100 of these courses to corrections officials in California. This, I have a lifetime certification to teach in the university system in California. And so we taught them. They were all state approved, all county approved, and we got a chance to really sort of embed the idea in corrections people in California to use a lot of this. And besides going to California all the time, this was a 4 to 6 week schedule back in 1979. This was pretty typical in my life for the next 10 years. University of Puget Sound to teach a class there, Fairfax, Virginia, Juneau, Alaska, Boys Town, Nebraska, Kearney State University, Nebraska, Kansas City, Missouri, St. Paul, Minnesota, Toronto, Ontario. That was about 5 weeks of travel right there. And this was, I mean, I can't believe how many places I've been over the years trying to just get that word out to people that we can make a difference using nutrition and dietary supplements. But, you know, it started making a difference. Here, this is Red Bluff, California. Delinquents' diet alters mood at juvenile hall. Fresno, California, diet study to curb delinquency. Getting crooks off junk food. This is in Los Angeles, where they actually set up a committee to change and radicalize the nutrition program for the entire county. Workshops that were offered were advertised all the time. Here's from one of the leading columnists of the Chicago Tribune, too much sugar may be criminal. So we were getting the word out, and this was, oh my God, that's what I look like, huh, with my mustache. Delinquency blamed on bad food. This article appeared in newspapers throughout the country, and that led to my second book in 1980, Diet, Crime, and Delinquency. And I just continued, you know, I just wouldn't stop. And this, not only did I speak to groups, but I attended many scientific conferences. This was the 112th Congress of the American Correctional Association meeting held in Toronto. I had a huge audience there, but I would say 500 criminologists were there. And all I'm trying to do is say, look, let's do research. Do the studies. Don't tell me you disagree with me. Show me the data that I'm wrong. That's the key thing. If you disagree with me, that's fine. That's religion. But if you want to call yourself a scientist, show me the data that I'm wrong. This is the 5th National Conference on Child Abuse and Neglect, which was sponsored by the United States Department of Health and Education Welfare, that was held at the University of Wisconsin. All these papers were published, by the way. There is the School Safety, which was jointly published by the U.S. Department of Justice and the U.S. Department of Education, that went out to every single school district in the United States, 52,000 school districts. Here was a paper in the journal, International Journal of Neurology. The Twinkie defense, boy, that's another story. I could spend a whole hour on that. By the way, that's a total myth. There was no Twinkie defense in that trial in San Francisco at all. That was concocted by Time Magazine. And I can personally tell you that because I was the person that both the defense and the prosecution used as their expert witness in the Dan White case. And I dismissed the idea that nutrition had anything to do. That was sheer premeditated murder. There was no nutritional defense involved in that trial whatsoever. So that's a total myth. There is no Twinkie defense. And then there was the New York City public school system. Because of Dr. Lesser, you know, having me inspired enough to quickly sit down and write Orthomolecular Treatment of Criminal Offenders, the administration, the public school administration in New York City read that work, called me up and said we'd want to change the diet in New York because we have a 36th percentile in national standardized academic test scores, and we need to do better. There were 17 students per teacher in that school system. They had the most educated teachers in the United States in terms of master's and doctorate degrees teaching children in school. And they had one of the worst school programs in terms of breakfast and lunch. And it was in 1978 a lead article in the cover of the New York Times that something had to be done about the school program.